On today's episode of The Hobbyist Novice, we have an absolutely super special episode on tap for you guys today. As you know, Disney Lorcana has absolutely taken the TCG world by storm. The cards can't be found anywhere, the game is super popular, it is so much fun to play, and it's also so collectible. So, more than anything, I really wanted to get into the minds of one of the Disney Lorcana artists have put together some of the greatest illustrations we've seen ever, in my opinion, in a TCG game before. So with that said, we're so excited to welcome Nicholas Kole onto the Hobbyist Novice today as we talk all things Lorcana, his background, and so much more. Thank you guys for joining us today. It is going to be a fun episode. Sit back, listen, enjoy as Nicholas takes us a little bit deeper into the world of Lorcana. All right, welcome back to the Hobbyist Novice. Really excited, super special guest today of Nicholas Kole. You might see a lot of his art on the first chapter of Disney Lorcana. Nick, if you want to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, background, some things you might have been worked on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Nicholas Kole. I'm a character designer and illustrator. I've been doing this job for something getting on 15 years. I started out in video games. That's still my bread and butter. Um, Most recently, the last couple titles I worked on were the Crash Bandicoot 4 uh, and Crash Team Rumble sort of set, and then Spyro Reignited Trilogy, which was great. Um, I've done a little work for Netflix on the Scrooge movie that came out like a year ago at Christmas time, and just kind of worked across like children's books, covers, doing like animation work, video game biz dev, and just kind of like sampling a little bit of toy work here and there for Hasbro and Mattel briefly. And this is my very first ever TCG with Lorcana, and I'm really loving it so far. Not only working on it, but actually playing it. We're talking right now at noon tonight. I have got an appointment with a local constructed deck tournament here
Nice.
in the city. So
That's awesome. And like I say, before we get into Lorcana, how excited I was to see that you worked on Crash Bandicoot 4. Crash Bandicoot has personally been one of my favorite video games since I was a kid. So that was super cool to see. It's actually one of my favorite games that my family and I play a lot. So it's really cool to see that. I was really excited once I actually learned that a few weeks ago too.
oh, that's awesome. My condolences. It's so hard if you're playing
It is
four.
hard. Yeah, we're stuck. We're complete. I actually forget what world we're stuck on, what level, but we haven't been able to get past it now for like 6 months.
The fact that they count your deaths in the corner is so brutal because I wanted to like see the entire thing, and I am not gifted in the Crash Bandicoot way. So it took me like 100 deaths on, I think it was, I can't remember what the city level name was with Cortex, and I just like, my wife just watched me like pass 100 deaths, just cussing and trying to get up the surface of this building, but we
Yeah,
got
we've
there.
been there. That's probably close to where we're at right now, where we kind of have to, we're in that one suit where you got to morph out from the platform to come back and forth and getting
Oh
back
yeah.
to it. And we keep getting zapped by the ray that comes down, no matter how many times we tried. And the four of us have been stuck on this forever.
Oh,
We'll go back to it every now and then too, but it's such a
Mr.
great
Shay.
game. It's an awesome game.
That's great. I was really, really proud of the what we did as a team, especially visually. And yeah, I'm looking back, it's cool to like see something where you're like, yeah, heck yeah, we really like, even though you might not get all the way through it to see all of the stuff that was done, I really, you know, felt good to be part of such a cool team.
Yeah, it's a great game. The graphics are amazing in that game too. It's really cool to see Crash up in that next level of generation games too. So that's really cool to see. But
Awesome.
everyone wants to hear about Lorcana, so
For sure.
we won't go into
Absolutely.
it too much more. But I mean, just talk about like your experience on Lorcana. What was it like getting to work on it and getting a bit of twist and all these iconic characters?
Yeah, well, I mean, getting to kind of take and interpret some of these characters. I mean, they are so like Mickey Mouse, it doesn't really get any more iconic or
Mhm.
uh ubiquitous. He's everywhere. Everyone knows what he looks like. So any change that you're going to make is always going to be scrutinized, and it's a little nerve-wracking. Certainly coming out of Crash and Spyro, it was really exciting to make changes and tweaks, but sometimes not super well received depending on the fan. So it's been great to partner really closely with Disney on this and really make changes and adjustments that feel like they're still part of the spirit of the IP. And each character, as we do it, we're not really pushing them outside of their kind of moral alignment or comfort zone per se. It's still Cruella de Vil no matter how you draw her or what costume and kind of way that you spin it. Even Hades in his um Zeus-esque form still is kind of exuding that attitude and feel. So we really work hard to try and retain that sense of who the character is, even as we change them. But getting to work on this project has been just really delightful. I think that I came in nervous and curious to see how working with a big client like this would be, and on such a kind of ongoing, there's so many cards to get through, the production schedule is nonstop. But it's really been lovely. Everybody working on it has been just really kind and excited and creatively engaged. And it's every time I sit down to a new card, it's fun to revisit the nostalgic memories that are attached to each movie and each character. So
Yeah, I mean, and the art's incredible. I mean, I've had my two favorite cards in the entire set is Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor. I honestly keep this by my desk ever since I got it. I was so excited to pull that.
hey, hi buddy.
And the Elsa Snow Queen card. As far as art in the entire series, those are my two favorite art in the entire series. I love the twist you had on the two, and they just look amazing.
Thank you. Thanks. Those were probably the two I was the most nervous making, because both Mickey and Elsa are, I think, the characters people have the most opinions about. Just the fan bases are passionate and deeply entrenched, and I wanted to make sure that I did right by those characters. So it's really, really gratifying to hear that people like what we came up with.
I think especially the Brave Little Tailor, man. So many people are dying to pull that card. You're just going through the boards and stuff, and it's just a really cool card. Really excited to see it. I honestly can't wait to. I want a poster of that card. I just love the artwork so much on it. It's great.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I mean overall, and the game is just so exciting. I mean, did you expect it to just blow up as much as it has so quickly?
No, no, I don't think you hope for it. You hope that people will be excited about it. And I can't speak for the entirety of the team, but I think that the mentality going in was, we're just going to do our best, try and put together something that's really meaningful, actually fun to play, that we believe in creatively and artistically, and hope that people respond to that as well. But after going to Gen Con and seeing people sleep at the front of the line, to get there just to grab a couple booster packs and some deck boxes and stuff, was I've never been a part of a project that people wanted to sleep in line for. So that's there's no way to plan for that. There's no you'd have to be an insane egomaniac to anticipate oh yeah, definitely, I drew Mickey, people are going to sleep in line to try and pull one for sure. You know.
It's
So
crazy. I mean, when it was first announced, it sounded amazing. I'm a huge Disney person in general. I go to the parks all the time, love Disney, the movies, everything. So I mean, to hear this coming out, it was great. And you kind of felt like there was a slow build to it of the excitement really getting, but I just did not expect it to be like this. This has been crazy. You can't find the cards on the shelf anywhere still. The best way to get honestly is just trade boards, whatever you kind of fill out your decks. But it's been a heck of a ride. I'm sure it's just been insane for you.
definitely, and exciting too, because I've been really enjoying getting kind of into the local scene. I live up here in Vancouver, Canada, and it is, a pretty thriving, every time we go to an event, it's booked solid. And, sometimes there's some familiar faces, but there's often a lot of new folks. And the spread of people who are interested across every kind of demographic feels pretty broad. And it's just a lovely vibe. People seem cheerful and excited. People kind of burst into songs sporadically, as they're playing. And I've been really uh delighted to see that element, because when you're working on just the illustrations, you don't really have a ton of insight into gameplay, in the early months and even years of the project, as that's all still being developed and kind of coming into focus on other parts of the team. So the big question was always like, is it going to be fun? Like, are people going to really enjoy playing? And I can speak for my own experience. Like, I've got 3 decks I'm building, and like I'm getting my butt kicked almost consistently, but I'm still enjoying getting my butt kicked. So I think that speaks pretty well of it.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's been going for me too. I'm trying to figure out that perfect deck. So what decks are you running with currently?
Well, so I bit down hard initially on like uh Sapphire Steel, and I really got excited about trying to build kind of an item centric Tamatoa and like Ariel Who's It Collector deck, because something intrigued me about the way those potentially loop and play together. It's kind of clunky. I'm still working on getting it to actually work and play. My wife just keeps sweeping the floor with me, but and then to respond to that, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try building an Amber Amethyst since everyone's talking about it and see what that's like. And then I started experimenting with Steel Emerald,
Okay.
which I've just been enjoying. I think it's just fun to kind of experiment with different colors. Tonight, for the constructed deck, the league here is giving out a bonus point to anybody who builds a deck for the evening that is just 2 movies. I don't know if that's happening at other events, but just like 2 IPs in the deck alone, across whatever colors you pick. And I'm thinking I might, if I have a spot this afternoon to kind of shuffle some cards around, I might give it a shot. But
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I haven't seen one of those. I've seen a lot of drafts where you just get like 4 booster packs. There's no
Mhm.
limitation to colors, and just building a deck off of those. Those have been fun. I've been wanting to do one of those, but the couple movie ones, that's interesting. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I mean that assumes like an availability of cards for the people attending that
Yeah.
is maybe not reflective of reality, but absolutely that's being worked on, and I'm really excited. The previews for set 2 just came out, last week, and um, yeah, I'm just like as much a part of the hype of just playing and getting to open packs and stuff as I am excited to be working on it.
Yeah, I cannot say enough how excited I am for, especially that set that's coming out, the Disney 100 set, the gift set that's coming come for the Walt Disney
Yeah,
Studios animators. I'm so excited for that. That
super
is
cool.
so
I
cool.
love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
seeing
love it.
Brittany Lee like drawing Elsa on a card in the game was like, oh, it's good, because we're looking at her work and a lot of the others like as
Mhm.
reference every time we sit down to like work on the cards and pulling up their art. It's really cool to just see that directly, like, oh, there she is.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a surprise. I was hoping that was something that would happen down the line, and to see that just to come out of nowhere, that was a really cool, really nice touch for that set.
Totally.
So, I mean, before like even going into this and getting to do these characters, who was your favorite Disney character?
I'm like a big Stitch fan. I really like Stitch, and I think that Chris Sanders' sensibility in the way that he designs his characters, particularly his creatures, that he took kind of into How to Train Your Dragon with Toothless,
Mhm.
is something that like really influenced my sensibilities at an early age. So um Stitch is always going to be have a really special spot in my heart, but Maleficent is amazing too. I think she's just a killer design, and I got to work early on, years ago. I worked on a book that came out with the Angelina Jolie Maleficent movie.
Okay.
It was called The Curse of Maleficent, and it was a bunch of, I did like 25 interior illustrations on the cover for Disney Publishing, and it was one of my very first kind of freelance gigs. And I just grew really attached to the character, and then getting to like come full circle like a decade later and do a card with her on it was really gratifying.
Yeah,
So
that's got to be an awesome feeling.
yeah, for sure.
And then, I mean, you talking about your favorite character. Do you have a certain, other than if Stitch is your favorite character to draw, is that your favorite character to draw, or do you have a different character? Just
Yeah, I think that would have to be the Stitch thing, just because of that artistic like sensibility and inspiration, because of the way Chris Sanders goes about designing his characters. But um I would love to get my teeth into some of the like Treasure Planet characters,
Mhm.
seeing John Silver show up in the cards was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think we could do that. Like I would love to uh get my teeth into that one. Yeah, and I've been, I think I'm like kind of a broken record at this point, but I really love the Goofy movie. And I would love to do like a power line card
That
since
would
we're
be
talking
really
about
cool.
power line. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like with Treasure Planet, I don't think too many people expect to see cards from that. And I can't even say how
Mm.
excited I am that the Great Mouse Detective is going to be in the next set.
Yes, yes. I independently did some like Radigan fan art a couple of years ago, just because that movie's great and the designs are super fun. And yeah, I'm super excited to see them join
Yeah,
the
it's
lineup.
really cool to see like those movies that you wouldn't even think would be in something like this to just
Mm.
pop up out of nowhere. That's just really cool to see.
Totally. I mean, it's hundreds of cards for each set that,
Yeah.
the pace of, the demand of the game, we're going to hit all the big ones, obviously, the things that have really solidly pre-established massive fan bases, but I'm especially excited to hit the slightly more niche corners of the Disney fandom, and
Yeah,
because I'm a
that's
part of
exciting.
those too. Those movies like Treasure Planet and Atlantis, even Lilo and Stitch. Like Stitch himself kind of broke out as an icon, but that was like a kind of more minor success in
Hmm.
terms of the pantheon when you compare it to like Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid and Lion King and stuff like that. So it's great that they all get to come play together.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many characters to pull from just so many
Yeah.
years of movies. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see everything that gets done, all these different characters that get brought in. It's a lot of cool. I mean, do you have a certain dream character that you'd like to draw for an upcoming set?
It's gotta be Powerline, right? It's I've been trying to like pitch into like even the granular details about which like abilities and sort of which color ink like the different Goofy movie characters could fit into. So we'll see how that all pans out. But I mean, Ursula is such a like fun character in general. A lot of the villains are classic for a reason. I think I've seen one or two. Well, there is, I think, just the one Yzma in the first set, and she's like an incredible design. And when you look more closely from an artistic perspective about how they've figured out the shapes and proportions, and she is such a like adventurous look, for the kind of Disney space. And that's where the villains really shine. There's often like really interesting shapes and geometry and features in the mix, where when you're doing a princess or a prince, it's a little more like traditional and you know what to expect. But Yzma's like facial geometry is just buck wild. So I would love to do an Yzma at some point.
Oh, that would be cool. My two dream cards I'm dying to see in one set. One, I want to see Figment at some point. I'm hoping we get a Figment card
Heck
pop up
yeah.
somewhere. And my second one is Darkwing Duck. Those are my two that I
Oh
think
yeah, right on.
get pulled in at some point. I think Powerline's a very good chance coming in at some point. I mean, I feel like they're really pulling him into the parks now too. So maybe we'll see that. I'm hoping so. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I feel like there's some areas in the sort of pantheon of Disney movies where like little like groups of intense kind of cult fandom will sort of
Mhm.
bubble up, and Goofy movie seems like one of those for sure. But Darkwing Duck is definitely, he was a huge like icon of my childhood
Yeah.
watching. I don't know what it was. I was just at the right age where that was like one of the edgiest things I had seen at the time. It was like I wasn't ready for actual Batman yet, but just the idea that like there was like a brooding purple and black Donald Duck kind of analog was. I really like Tailspin, actually. Come to
Yeah,
think
that's a
of
good
it,
one too.
that would be a really fun series of characters to
Yeah, that
explore.
whole Disney afternoon, that would be amazing to somehow see get incorporated at some point.
Totally.
That'd be really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many cards in that first chapter. I mean, your card decide. What would you say is your favorite card in the entire set?
Wow. Um, I think that Cookie is killing it on their cards. So the beast card that they did where like the he's clawing forward
Mhm.
across the floor. I just think illustratively it's like rock solid. It's so cool. It's like a really pushed look, and I think sometimes when you're doing characters like this where there's model sheets and there's whole movies and there's a really like solid sense of exactly what they look like. It's hard to add any kind of styling to it that you feel like, oh well, maybe I'm pushing too far. And so whenever somebody pulls off something like what Cookie did with that Beast card, and further than that too, I mean, I'm always really impressed. I think that like John Silver card is pretty sick too. I it's beautifully done, and it's also just like captures the spirit of the movie in like a single card, just one off on its own, which feels pretty rad.
No, yeah, that's an awesome couple awesome cards there for sure. There's so many good cards in the set. The art throughout the entire set is just phenomenal. Like the art is great, and like we were talking about, there's never seen so much hype for a game, and it really lived up to the hype. Like it's been crazy. The game's just super fun to play. It's pretty easy to learn too. I feel like I think the first time I played, I was a little bit confused, but then like after that, really gotten the gist of it, and it's just fun to pick up all ages. Like you said, it's a very broad audience too, something that you don't really see with too many TCGs.
Yeah, truly. And um I mean, I tried we went to a booster draft a couple weeks ago, and my parents were happened to be in town, and they're both in their 60s, and they've never played Pokemon or Magic or any of this. They've played, poker or blackjack or something. And they were curious, and so they came along to the booster draft and started to get the fundamentals down by the end of the evening, and it was really like sweet to see them kind of trying and kind of clicking with it. I think my mom came away with like more of a like deep understanding of what was going on, which was pretty funny to see, because it's just so unusual for them to click with something like that. But the Disney, like the history of the properties, brings in all these older fans who recognize these characters from their own childhoods, which is really pretty dope.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing how many different people this has brought together. I mean, like you go to the Pokemon tournament stuff like we would before, and you always see the same people, and now it's just completely different. There's so many
Mm.
different people that have never experienced CCDs all coming together and playing this game and loving it. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. Our like favorite go-to spot here in Vancouver, just to plug it, is called Turquoise Goat. And like they have such a cool, diverse constituency of folks who show up. And it's just a delight to play there. Like it's a very friendly atmosphere when people get together to play Lorcana. And I know from past experience that generally speaking, the gaming space is a very friendly place, but
Mhm.
there are certain vibes and games that bring out a different level of competitiveness or intensity, or constituencies that are just like more all one type of person that just gravitates towards this thing. But
Yep.
it's been exciting to see people even bring their kids, like bring younger players in and watch like guys my age, like bearded in their 30s, coming in and getting their butt kicked by a 12-year-old girl. And it's like, hell yeah, that's exactly the card game I hoped we were making.
Awesome. So I have to ask too. So have you had any good pulls yet? Have you pulled any Enchanted yourself yet?
Not seen a single Enchanted. Dude, where are they? Like, I really want that Enchanted Stitch. But I love what Cookie did with the Enchanted Tinkerbell card as well. I thought the like
That's a great
one
card.
two kind of flipped perspective was really neat. um I've got some great pulls. I mean, I love like kind of deck building. I've even ordered a couple singles to start to kind of get into the specifics, which I know everyone else is doing out there, and they're like, yeah, congratulations, welcome to the normal run of the mill. But for me, this is very new, so I'm very excited. And anytime I'm pulling something that's like, oh my gosh, that is a whole new world, and I've been hunting for those, or grab your sword. My wife hates that I've just got exactly enough grab your swords to make her life just that much more difficult. She still kicks my butt, but I at least wipe her characters on a regular basis. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I have pulled one Enchanted. I pulled a Genie Enchanted in one of my packs. Got really lucky, so I was really excited about that. So that's been cool to see.
congratulations.
The cards are amazing. I mean, the art on
Is
the
there like a particular Enchanted you're hunting for?
yes, yeah, I really want Wayward Sorcerer Mickey. That's my number one. Stitch is my number
All
two.
right, Cam Candle. Yeah.
Yeah, those are definitely ones I'm looking for the most. But they're all, I mean, the art is so cool on these things. I love the full art aspect of it too.
Yeah. Do you have a background in like other TCGs before Lorcana? Are you more of a Disney fan or more of just like a TCG fan in general, would you say?
I started off with Pokemon. Played that with my little guy for a
Yep.
while. Like I when it first came out, like when I was pretty much almost his age, and now getting back into
Yeah.
that, around COVID. we've been playing. We went on to that every Saturday as we would do a league. And then Lorcana came out, and that's brought the whole family into it because we're such big Disney people. So that's been
Mm.
awesome too. But yeah, it's nice to have that background and kind of understand the TCG aspect a little bit. But it's definitely been easy to pick up on this game, especially for him. Like he's 7, and he's picked up on it pretty well too. So that's pretty cool.
Whoa, he's like really like grokking all the mechanics at 7.
I don't know about all
I'm gonna tell my
that.
dad that
Gets the bait.
because he's still struggling.
Yeah, I mean, it's been cool. It's cool to play it as a family. It's just a great game. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to collect. It's a lot of fun to play. And there's just so much coming too from all the new chapters that we're looking forward to too. It's
Mm,
so cool.
that's awesome. That's
The
really fun.
last thing I just want to ask, I mean, maybe for anyone who hasn't played the game yet, how would you best describe it?
Hmm. Let's describe it. I mean, I think it's a really like easy to learn, uh, tricky to master, like really like deeply strategic, but still really playful, fun, and whimsical. There's Disney movies that you'll recognize, and a lot of flavor in each card that's going to play as it plays. Sometimes the way that a card actually plays will remind you of the story or the narrative beats of how it actually unfolds in the movie. And those moments are like the most fun. It's plays very similar to something like Magic the Gathering, but with a few key differences. So it's like less combative. You're racing to the finish. I love the way that like ink is not sort of its own separate resource. So everything is like a really interesting, active, strategic decision as you go. But overall, I think, it's a fun time to sort of spend an hour or two with some friends around the table, and just kind of dip back into that nostalgic feeling from the old movies of your childhood. So
Yeah, absolutely. Lorcana is awesome. And again, we have chapter 2 coming out just about 2 months from now, too, which is great.
Mhm.
So yeah, Nicholas, thanks so much for coming out, getting on the show today. I really appreciate talking Lorcana with us. Really hope to hear more from you soon too.
Appreciate it. This is like lovely, great questions, and wish you guys the best.
All right, thanks so much, Nicholas. I really appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure.
All right.